Okay, time to get started on the opening gag for the Legault video. Let's see what I got in the notes here. A fake news report of a hurricane that's actually just a guy killing people. That could work, but given what's going down in New Orleans, that might be really bad in timing. What about to play off his other name, the Cleaner? What do I have for that? You know, I think I'll just skip the opening gag this episode. Assassin's Guilds are one of those things that's just always really cool no matter what context it's in. The idea of a secret society of people going about in the shadows and just offing people is a really cool concept. It can be an altruistic guild, like Slayer's Assassin Guild in the lore of Guilty Gear, or your traditional cloak and dagger in the dark kind of deal, like the Dark Brotherhood. The concept is always a treat, and Fire Emblem 7 is no exception, as the Black Fang and the characters relating to it are often considered a highlight by everyone who's played the game. And among that ragtag group of killers lies Legault, known as also the Hurricane and the Cleaner. He's my favorite character from the game, and one of my favorite characters from the series in general, so let's weather the storm and dive into the Hurricane. Or the Cleaner. Before we get into Legault being a part of the Black Fang, I feel like I need to take a brief moment to talk about the Fang in and of itself, because something that's real important to Legault isn't just that he's a former Black Fang, it's also when in the story the game gives him to you. Before his introduction, the Black Fang were out there doing some genuinely terrible and messed up stuff. They were hunting down Nilsen Ninian, two characters the player bonded with back in the game's 30-year tutorial, Lin mode. They were also manipulating local lords into fighting for their own deeds, even convincing Darin to abandon his son for dead. They kidnapped Eliwood's dad too, which spearheaded the entire goddamn game to begin with. And worst of all, the chapter before Legault appears, they kill Lelia, an NPC who had a lot of charming scenes with Matthew and was just really likable. So when you get to Dread Isle, the Fang is looking like another one of those big, bad, evil groups with no redeemable qualities whatsoever. Then you fight Uhai. Uhai is the first member of the Fang that the player faces that shows any semblance of kindness and honor. Despite the fact that he ambushed Eliwood and company, he doesn't resort to stabbing them in the back, instead offering them a chance to retaliate. He also says that Brendan Reed had an ideology worth fighting for, though he remarks that the place has changed ever since, quote, Nurgle sent that woman. He even uses his dying breath to help Eliwood find his way through the treacherous Dread Isle. All in all, he seems like a genuinely nice person, despite his affiliations, leaving doubt in the player's mind about how evil the Fang really is. And it's right when that question pops into the player's mind that Legault shows up, appearing at the Black Fang's base in the Dread Isle. According to him, the Fang started to go downhill ever since Sonya showed up and dressed it all boobily over their boss, Brendan Reed. So Legault's decided to pack up and leave the Fang behind for good. But not before he robs them blind of all the luxurious treasures. Yeah, forget your Camus, Eldigan, Mustafa, and all that. Legault sees the writing on the wall and leaves the first opportunity he gets. But the Lord's asking for his help, saying that he can provide intel on the Fang that they couldn't get anywhere else. Though Legault admits he really knows less than nothing about how the current Fang operates. He does agree anyway, though. But as it turns out, belonging to a band of assassins, even if you're not a part of them anymore, causes people not to trust you. Matthew is incredibly reluctant to trust Legault, and given how his lover was killed, it's really hard to blame him for that. Legault takes this feeling in stride, simply joking to himself that he's not the most popular fellow around camp, but Matthew isn't done talking to him. He wants to learn what exactly Legault did with the Fang, and Legault tells him he was tasked with cleaning the house. And no, not literally. Cleaning house meant striking down anyone who betrayed the Fang. Exposing secrets is a big no-no for secret organizations, after all. Matthew brings up how Legault doesn't really look like the kind of guy that can handle the Fang's elite in a fight, to which Legault just replies that people have to sleep sometime. Legault says that doing what he did, killing people who worked with the Fang for years, left him pretty hated by everyone back there. That's why he likes Eliwood's group. He can just be a dude that hangs around, and no one's really bothered by that. But Matthew's line of questioning leads Legault to a darker memory. The one that made him quit the Fang and realize it was going to shit. He says back in the day, they could believe in their own righteousness. He, the Reeve family, Uhay, all had no doubts in their mind about what they were doing. But once Sonya and Nurgle came into the picture, the types of targets they got slowly got less and less like the ones they were used to, and now onto more innocent people. Instead of cleaning up traitors, Legault was starting to clean up people who just didn't want to kill anymore, or who got hurt and couldn't do their jobs as well. The last straw of this was a woman named Aisha, someone Legault was a very close friend with for many years. She messed up a job and got hit with a wound that took her out of the game for good, and Legault was ordered to strike her down. He remarks that she had many happy years ahead of her. She could have just retired to some far-off village and lived her life in peace. But Legault had his orders, and he struck down a woman who had no way to fight him back, even if he did want to fight her in a fair fight. And it was at that moment, with her blood on his hands, that made him see the writing on the wall and realize the Fang was as good as dead to him. Seeing Legault recount these sad memories really makes you feel bad for him and the Fang in general. No one wants to admit something they love has changed beyond recognition, but here Legault is, being forced to do just that. Seeing Legault go through this necessary pain is something I feel is relatable. We've all had moments where we had to burn a bridge we wanted to keep up, but the fact that Legault is burning that bridge creates a tragedy that's both relatable while also enriching the story of the game. Legault's existence and supports help make the Black Fang more likable and more memorable, which increases their impact on the story of FE7 to a much higher height than it would have been without him there. Legault acts as a good supplement to the Black Fang. He's not necessary for them to work, but he definitely helps. It's like a few episodes ago when I talked about Noel. Leon didn't need him to be a good villain, but he definitely helps. Or how I don't need to put a clever Patreon advertisement in every video for you to donate to it, but it definitely helps. That's right, I have a Patreon, where you can give me money in exchange for benefits such as early access to videos and getting your name called out on episodes. Today's poll for those who are willing to donate $7 a month is between Michaela and Minerva. Michaela and Minerva. That blooper's so good I'm keeping it in the video. Vote which one you want if you donate. My patrons include the likes of Andrew Crockett, Atomic X160, follow Penta the North Star on Twitch, subscribe to Great Riek, Green Brigand, Hell on Heelys, My Anus is Bleeding, Kieran Morin, Lightning Bolt, Me Do a Gamer, Memi, Michael Hamilton, Nember, Nevrix the Fallen Shield Guy, Ranger Man Sam, Ryan Walter, Space1255, Steph D, Tato, Wideman, Anti-Ginger, Brentendo11, Dell, Drew Hack, Kazu Foxfire, Max, and Sazegi. Thank you all for your continued support, and let's go cry about Legault some more! Yay! But despite what the Fang has become, he still holds love for the people in it not named Sonya and Nurgle, specifically Nino. She lovingly refers to him as Uncle Legault, which bothers him because apparently he's just in his 20s and Uncle is too old sounding for him. Which, I don't know if I believe this man is in his 20s. I swear he looks and acts more like early 30s, but that might just be me. As the two talk, Nino makes the realization that Legault was there when Eliwood and company defeated whichever one of her brothers they fought first. Legault, thinking Nino is about to blame him for her brother's death, asks her to let it all out, but Nino refuses, as she says that Legault's eyes are too sad to say anything to. Nino remarks that she, in spite of everything that's happened to the Black Fang, still loves them in her heart, a sentiment that Legault forlornly agrees with. The end of their support has the two of them musing over what they intend to do after all the fighting is done. Most people in Eliwood's army have villages and family to go back to, but Legault and Nino have no such warm things to return to. Legault muses that he'll eke out a living as some kind of petty thief or a mountain bandit, having no qualms about recruiting to a sleazy lifestyle. Nino wants to go with him, but Legault shoos her away, saying that he isn't strong like Lloyd and Linus and isn't there to protect her all the time. He says that such a lifestyle is unsuited for her, and he says that after their paths split when the fighting is done, they will never meet again. Nino, very clearly crying, leaves Legault and says that she'll see him later, a sentiment that both know will never come true. Though Legault is acting cold here, his perspective is completely understandable. He just wants what's best for what little of his found family he has left. But there is still a certain tragedy to it, as Nino's epilogues reveal that bounty hunters will come for her, in spite of Legault's efforts to keep her safe. Before we wrap up his supports, it's worth mentioning that Legault also has a plethora of funny lines too. There aren't any bust-a-gut laughing moments, but he has a lot of little witty comebacks littered throughout his mostly serious and down-to-earth supports. His silly flirtations with Heath and Isadora, how he teases Matthew and Jafar, he has a lot of wit behind him. Of course, all 5 of his supports are pretty dour in subject matter, which makes those silly quips stand out like a sore thumb. It's like when you send someone a long vent message and then slap a lamau at the end of it to make it look like you weren't that bothered over it. It's the bare minimum attempt to hide the hurt, but it's very clear that everything around you is really bothering you. But supports aside, Legault actually doesn't fade into the background and become nothing more than another face in your army after he joins. Legault's a rare example, especially for the Game Boy Advance games, of a character that gets a fair few boss conversations relevant to him. As the game progresses, Legault can talk to the Reed brothers, though only the second one you fight, not the first one for some reason. I guess the writers realized that if Legault actually had a civil conversation with Lloyd or Linus before they died, they wouldn't have died at all. He also has boss conversations with the reanimated corpses of his loved ones, which, is just as depressing as it sounds. Legault has an in-depth conversation with both of the Reed brothers during the second encounter with them. I've gone over these conversations in my Reed Brothers episode, which you should go watch right now because everything I've ever made in my life is amazing, but I want to emphasize a point about them that's specific to Legault, and that's the fact that he knows they're completely pointless conversations. Lloyd or Linus long ago made up in their minds what they're going to do, and Legault knows trying to talk them out of it is a completely foolish thing of him to do. But even in spite of that, he had to try. He had to give the men he loved a chance to live, despite the fact that he knew it would amount to nothing. As he parts ways with Lloyd, he can only offer one final promise to him, saying, quote, "I'll see you again, Lloyd, with Linus, Uhai, even if it won't be in this world." But as it turns out, Legault was wrong. He will see them all again in this world, though he definitely wishes he didn't. In the final chapter of the game, Nurgle has revived much of the Fang as soulless morphs, and sent them out to stop Eliwood's forces from attacking him. Here, the zombified bodies of the Reed family and Uhai fight Legault once more, and Legault can do nothing but lament over the state of everything. The quotes don't have any sort of deep complexity, but they do show how much Legault is suffering over everything that's going on in the final battle. And since we haven't had it yet this episode, here's our favorite part, the part where I just read the script of the game word for word and call it writing my own script. My English teachers would be so proud of what I've become. Even as a monster, you are a handsome one, Lloyd. But you know something? Can't let this continue. Oh, we meet again, Linus. This stinks! Uhai, why did this blasphemy occur? I'll put an end to it right away. Commander, I really didn't want to see you like this. All I can give you is one last act of rebellion. Legault, at his core, is a very tragic character. Despite all of his flirtatious charms and humorous wit, he's always in pain. But in spite of that pain, he keeps going forward with his life, following his own convictions down whatever road they might take him. And his ending has him going around finding former members of the Fang, offering them a new chance at life, if just to ease the pain of his own loss. And there's an irony to that. Before, he would hunt down former Fang members and end their lives for betraying the Fang. Now he, the man who is betraying the Fang, is hunting down former Fang members to help them live their lives in true happiness. I guess you could say that the cleaner really cleaned up his act. Thank you guys very much for coming to the end of another character analysis video. Next episode is episode 40. Wow, we have done a lot of these. As always, thank you to the Green Brigand for all your help. He's a good friend of mine, he helps look over the script, you know all he's done for us by now. If you enjoyed the video, please feel free to leave a like on the video, a comment on the video, a subscription, ring the bell, join the Discord, join the Patreon, yada yada yada. And next time you hire a hitman to kill someone, let him know it was for good old Steve. Until next time.
Change the world. My final message. Good